Welcome to our second migraine FAQ video. We received a lot of questions on migraine and lifestyle. I will answer a few of them, but if you have more, please ask them in the comments. First, a quick reminder on the migraine threshold theory. On this graph, you see that at any time we are exposed to migraine risk. Here the risk is in orange. If the risk level happens to reach the threshold in red, then symptoms appear. In other words, to stay migraine-free, we must remain below the threshold. There are three ways of staying below the threshold. The first one is to control the risk level, knowing that the more we are sensitive to a risk factor, also called trigger, the higher the risk associated with it. Lifestyle plays a big role in controlling the risk level because there are a number of controllable risk factors linked to lifestyle. And for each of them, there are protectors to keep risk under control. Second one, increase the threshold. This is the role of preventive medication. Talk to your doctor about this. And the last one is a combination of both. In our theory, let's answer your questions.
How can I tell if my lifestyle is causing my migraines?
We cannot tell, because the causes of migraine remain unknown to science. However, as a rule of thumb, when we suffer from migraine, we tend to be more sensitive to change. So the less you're exposed to change, the higher the chances to stay below the threshold or symptom-free. For example, when you stick to your sleep pattern or when you eat your meals every day at the same time. Moreover, each lifestyle-related risk factor can be controlled with a specific protector. Sleep, if you stick to your sleep pattern. Hunger, if you eat at least 3 meals a day. Dehydration, if you drink regularly throughout the day. Stress, if you do some moderate exercise every day, 30 minutes. Exertion, if you avoid intense physical exercise or activities. Neck pain with specific exercise. And jaw tension if you massage your jaw, and bruxism if you wear a mouth guard. All of these are the lifestyle protectors, and you shouldn't underestimate them. They are free, they are very small actions to do, but they can go a long way in terms of migraine if they are done regularly, every day. Try it and let me know.
I suspect that one of my triggers is stress, anxiety. How do I know for sure? Advice on how to cope with stress, anxiety. What to do to avoid a migraine in this case?
Stress is the number one trigger reported in Migraine Buddy. 2 out of 3 users report stress as their main trigger. So when we suffer from migraine, we are sensitive to stress. The good news is that there are many ways to control stress by either building resistance to stress and or building resilience to stress. So let's see how we can do that. So there are 3 ways of building resistance to stress. Building resistance means that you will be less sensitive to stress whenever a stressful situation appears and less impacted. So the 3 ways. The first one we saw just before is doing some moderate exercise every day, 30 minutes. Could be walking, cycling, dancing, whatever, as long as it's moderate and 30 minutes and every day. This is the first one. The second one is doing some kind of meditation, some activities that will let you go off the notion of time. This is well described in a video by Dr. Rossetti that I put in the description. So this doctor explained that if you find an activity that let go of the notion of time, you build resistance to stress. This activity can be knitting or listening to music, reading a book, watching the fire. I mean, anything that let go of the notion of time is a good one to take, again, to do every day. And the third one is petting. Taking care of your pets, your plants, your loved ones, whatever, it's a powerful anti-stress activity. So don't hesitate to care for others, you do good to you also. So all those activities will build resistance to stress. Therefore, you will be less sensitive whenever a stressful situation comes. Now that we saw how to build resistance to stress, which is reduce the intensity, we're going to see how to build resilience to stress, which is reduce the duration. So you know what? The superhero to build resilience to stress is hug. So let's go. Hug everyone in your family, hug your pets, hug your friends, hug your teddy bear even, but hug. A few hugs throughout the day and you will build resilience to stress. Enjoy! Last but not least, when facing a very stressful situation, nearly like a panic attack, what I recommend for the Good Days participants is they do some cardiac coherence exercise, some breathing exercise. So if you're not familiar with this one is having a 10-second breathing cycle with 6 seconds inhaling and 4 seconds exhaling. With no stop or break in the middle. It has to be a very smooth circle. It will contribute to regulate your heartbeat and to calm you down. 5 minutes of this and you will feel relieved.
What are some exercises that help to alleviate or prevent migraines?
When it comes to migraine, exercising is all about prevention. So if you suffer from neck pain, you can do some specific neck exercises that will relieve the tension in your neck muscles. If you suffer from jaw tension, you can do some specific massage to relieve them. MB Plus subscribers can find this message and exercises in the Good Days DIY guide. So also, research shows that by practicing a 30-minute daily moderate exercise, it will help build your resistance to stress, but not only, as it will also help you sleep better.
Treatment modalities such as herbal supplements, holistic approaches beyond yoga and such.
For supplements, I would recommend that you ask your doctor, because they may not be harmless. In fact, they can interact with other medication you're taking, or they can even aggravate other conditions you may have. So check with your doctor. Also take into account that these supplements may contain some food risk factors, like tannins or preservatives or salicylates and so on. If you happen to be sensitive to one of those food risk factors, then it might worsen your condition. You can refer to the FAQ on food and migraine video here. I personally recommend the Good Days program participants to drink some homemade ginger water. You can have it hot or cold, it's easy to make, and you have the recipe in the description. Enjoy!
Are there any specific tips or suggestions to help with barometric pressure sensitivity as a migraine trigger?
Unfortunately, we cannot control weather pressure variation. However, we can help a bit by doing two things. The first one is to plan ahead. In Migraine Buddy, you can check the weather pressure forecast, and on risky days, you can try to avoid any risky or important activities, like an important meeting or a long drive. You might want to stay and work from home on that day. So that's one thing you can do. Then you can control everything controllable, like all the lifestyle risk factors that we saw earlier on. And if you are aware of any other potential triggers, risk factors you are sensitive to, minimize the exposure on that day. This way, you intend to stay below the threshold. And in extreme cases, you might consider moving closer to the equator. If you are interested on weather and migraine, you can check the dedicated webinar in the description.
What effect does exercise have on vestibular migraine?
Research shows that exercising during an attack worsens the symptoms. So exercise should be kept only as a preventive measure. Doing 30-minute moderate exercise every day is definitely a protector. Be careful, moderate only, not intense, as it might bring dehydration and exertion. This goes for all kinds of migraine, not only vestibular.
Lately, I have woken up with a woozy, like really strong windy sound in my ears. It doesn't always lead to a migraine now, but it used to be my indicator that one was starting. Any ideas why? Anyone else get this as an indicator for a migraine?
What you describe is a prodrome, the first phase of a migraine attack, that can occur up to 2 days before the pain onset. Resources in description. Also, this kind of tinnitus has been reported as a prodrome in 1 out of 5 attacks in Migraine Buddy. So yes, it is frequent. As for why, this question is for your doctor.
How much of a connection is there between sleep times, bedtimes and wake-up time, and migraine? I hear total hours of sleep talked about a lot, but how important is it that those hours be a consistent times of day?
As we saw earlier, when we suffer from migraine, we tend to be very sensitive to change. This is particularly applicable to sleep. So you need to identify your favorite sleep time and bedtime and your favorite wake-up time and stick to it as much as possible. In the same way, if you sleep during the day, you have to stick to your sleep pattern. If you need to change your bedtime, for example, you can do it, but you need to do it gradually. For example, a student that goes back to school, he might want to change his sleeping time from 11 p.m. to 9 p.m. In this case, he can change it by a slot of 15 minutes every day over 8 days to reach the 9 p.m. sleeping time. Anticipate the change 8 days in advance so that your body can start adapting early enough. If you have more questions, please ask them in the comments. Also, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell on the side to be notified each time we release a new video. I actually release one new migraine-friendly recipe every week. Also, visit gooddaysprogram.com if you want to know more about how to create good days. See you next time.